AITAH for asking my boyfriend for intimacy. I never thought I'd be sitting here, writing this, questioning myself for wanting something as natural as intimacy in a relationship. But here I am, 27 years old, 3 years into a relationship with a man I thought I knew and feeling like I'm begging for scraps of affection. When Mark and I first met, he was magnetic. He'd pull me in during crowded parties, his hand firmly on my waist, as if to say, "She's mine." We couldn't keep our hands off each other back then. Late nights, spontaneous trips that ended in tangled sheets, the kind of chemistry you read about in novels. But somewhere along the way, it shifted. At first, I thought it was stress. He got a promotion at work, started staying later, coming home exhausted. I tried to be patient, supportive. But weeks turned into months. The kisses became perfunctory, hugs one-armed, and sex, well, it almost disappeared. I tried everything. Romantic dinners, surprising him with lingerie, talking openly about what I missed, what I needed. His response was always the same, a sigh, a muttered, "I'm just not in the mood. Can't you understand that?" So I started wondering if I was wrong. Was I being pushy? Was I selfish for craving closeness when he seemed so unwilling? The real breaking point came last weekend. We were at a friend's birthday party. Music was loud, drinks were flowing, laughter echoed around the room. Mark spent most of the night glued to his phone, barely engaging with me. When I leaned in and whispered, "Maybe we can leave early," his eyes flicked up, cold and annoyed. "God, not everything has to be about sex, Sarah," he hissed, loud enough for the people nearby to hear. My cheeks burned, and I quickly excused myself to the bathroom, humiliated. But what shattered me wasn't just his words, it was what I saw later. As the night dragged on, I caught him outside on the patio, laughing with one of our mutual friends, a woman named Chloe. The way he leaned in close, the way his hand brushed against hers, it was the body language I'd been starved for. I stood there, frozen, watching as he gave her the intimacy he withheld from me. The stolen glances, the playful touches, the kind of attention I had begged for. When I confronted him the next day, he shrugged it off. "You're imagining things. Chloe's just a friend." But his defensiveness, the way his voice rose, the way he couldn't meet my eyes, it told me enough. Now I'm stuck in this loop of self-doubt. Am I the asshole for asking my boyfriend for intimacy, for needing something he clearly doesn't want to give me anymore? Or is the real betrayal the fact that he can offer that closeness to someone else so easily while making me feel like a burden for wanting it? Continuation. The days after that party felt like walking through fog. Mark acted like nothing had happened. He kissed me on the cheek before work, asked if I needed anything from the store, even sent a few half-hearted texts during the day. But once you've seen something, you can't unsee it. His laugh with Chloe, the way his fingers grazed hers, it was seared into my mind like a brand. I tried convincing myself I was overreacting. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe I was just hyper-aware because I was so starved for affection. But deep down, a voice whispered, if he really wanted you, he wouldn't make you beg for his attention while giving it freely to someone else. So I started paying closer attention. Mark's late nights at work became more frequent. His phone, once casually left on the coffee table, now seemed glued to his pocket. When it rang, he'd step into another room. When he texted, his thumbs flew faster than they ever did when replying to me. The first real crack came when I noticed a name pop up on his lock screen, C. He snatched the phone up so quickly you'd think it was a grenade. I asked who it was, and he said flatly, "Co-worker." "We're working on a project?" But Chloe wasn't his co-worker. She worked with me. My stomach twisted. I didn't say anything right then. I smiled, pretended I believed him. But inside, I felt something unravel. That night, when he finally fell asleep, I stared at the ceiling, the glow of his phone screen still haunting me. For 3 years, it bent myself backwards trying to be patient, understanding, supportive. And in return, he gave his warmth to another woman. The betrayal wasn't just the physical distance, it was the gaslighting, making me feel like I was selfish for wanting intimacy while he found it elsewhere. I confided in my best friend, Emily. She looked at me with a mix of pity and anger. "Sarah, You know what this means? Hayes checked out of the relationship. You deserve more than begging someone to touch you. I knew she was right, but part of me clung to hope. Part of me thought, maybe I can still fix this. So I tested him. One evening, I set up a dinner at home, candles, his favorite meal, wine. I dressed up, tried to look like the version of me he used to adore. For a few minutes, it felt almost normal. He smiled, complimented the food, even held my hand across the table. But when I leaned in, kissed him, and whispered, "Let's go to the bedroom," he pulled back. His smile faltered. "Not tonight. I'm exhausted." I excused myself, went to the bathroom, and sat on the edge of the tub trying not to cry. That's when I noticed something, his phone buzzing on the counter, screen lighting up with another message from C. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I already knew. The final blow came a week later. I left work early one afternoon, too anxious and distracted to focus. Walking home, I spotted him across the street. He wasn't at the office. He wasn't working late. He was at a cafe sitting at a small table by the window with Chloe. Their heads leaned close together. His hand brushed over hers, exactly the way it had that night at the party. I stood there in the rain, watching them laugh, watching him give away the very thing I'd been begging for. When he came home that night, I asked him one last time, "Are you cheating on me with Chloe?" His jaw tightened, eyes darting away. He muttered, "We're just friends, Sarah. You're paranoid. You need to stop." But his voice lacked conviction. He didn't even bother to deny it properly. That was when something in me broke. I realized it wasn't about whether he was technically cheating yet, whether they crossed that final line. The betrayal had already happened. Had chosen to give her the intimacy, the warmth, the laughter, the connection, everything he withheld from me. The next morning, I packed a bag. I left a note on the counter that simply said, "You stopped loving me long before I stopped loving you. I won't beg for what you're willing to give someone else." As I closed the door behind me, my hands trembled, but for the first time in months, I felt free. And yet, even as I walked away, one question haunted me: was I really the asshole for asking for intimacy? Or was the real betrayal the way he convinced me I was wrong for wanting what should have been ours all along? Continuation. Leaving Mark should have been the end of the story. I thought walking away would give me closure, that had shut the door on his lies and start over fresh. But closure isn't something people hand you neatly wrapped. It's something you have to dig out of the ruins, piece by piece, even when it hurts. For the first few weeks, I avoided everything connected to him. I muted his social media, ignored mutual friends, buried myself in work. But no matter how much I tried to distract myself, I couldn't silence the questions. When did it start? How long had he been slipping away from me? Was Chloe just an escape, or was she the reason all along? Answers came faster than I expected. One evening, Emily sent me a screenshot from Instagram. It was Chloe's account, her profile private, but the preview of her story still visible. A blurred picture of two wine glasses clinking, a familiar sleeve in the corner. Mark's sleeve. It hit me like a punch to the chest. He hadn't even tried to hide anymore. I told myself not to spiral, but curiosity gnawed at me. So I reached out to an old friend of mine, Daniel, who happened to be Chloe's co-worker. Casual questions at first, slipping her name into conversation, pretending it was harmless curiosity. And then Daniel dropped the bomb. "Funny thing," he said. "Chloe and Mark. They've known each other for years. Long before you. Back in college. Actually. They dated briefly, but it ended messy. We all joked when she showed up at that party that history has a way of circling back. I felt the blood drain from my face. Years. They had a history I never even knew about. He never mentioned her once in 3 years together. That was the betrayal within the betrayal. It wasn't just about stolen glances and secret texts. It was about omission, about rewriting his past so I couldn't see the pieces lining up. The more I dug, the uglier it became. I found out from another mutual friend that Chloe had broken up Mark's last relationship, too, that she was always the girl he ran back to when things got complicated. She wasn't just some random woman who slipped in during a weak moment. She was the ghost lurking in every fight we had, every cold shoulder, every excuse about being tired. And suddenly, the puzzle snapped together. He didn't stop being intimate with me because of stress or exhaustion or fading chemistry. He stopped because his affection had already migrated elsewhere. He was saving his energy for her. That realization burned. I felt humiliated not only because he cheated, but because he convinced me I was the problem. He gaslit me into thinking I was needy, selfish, too much. Meanwhile, Chloe was waiting in the wings, the hidden recipient of everything I begged for. The worst part? I started remembering small moments I'd brushed aside. The way his eyes lit up at the mention of her name at that party. How defensive he got the first time I confronted him. The phone calls, the sudden bursts of laughter he never shared with me anymore. All the signs had been there. One night, unable to sleep, I wrote it all down in my journal. And as the words filled the page, a strange clarity settled over me. The betrayal wasn't just that he chose her. The betrayal was that he made me question my worth, my sanity, my right to want closeness. He broke me down piece by piece, so when he left, I'd be too shattered to see the truth. Weeks later, I ran into him by accident. Grocery store, of all places. He looked the same casual, charming, like nothing ever touched him. And standing beside him, holding his hand, was Chloe. She smiled at me, triumphant as if she'd won some long, invisible game. Mark opened his mouth, maybe to explain, maybe to gloat, but I just walked past them. Because in that moment, I understood something. He hadn't chosen her because she was better. Had chosen her because betrayal was easier than growth. Because starting over with me would have meant being honest, being vulnerable, fixing what was broken. And he wasn't capable of that. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel desperate. I felt free. But still sometimes, late at night, I can't help asking myself, was I really the asshole for asking my boyfriend for intimacy? Or was the real cruelty that he gave it to someone else, all while making me believe I was wrong for ever wanting it?